Hello everyone, and welcome to today's session where we'll be talking about how to deal different lies on the course. We all know playing on the golf course, there's never one lie which is exactly the same. We do encounter many awkward lies, and knowing how to deal with it, knowing how to play from there is very crucial. It will save you a lot of shots, avoid making some of the mistakes which are very commonly made, and you'll improve your scores. So, beginning with, I will be addressing some of the shots related to the uneven lies, the uneven slopes. We see golf courses which are really undulated and slopey. And there, when we do not get a ball which is in exact level with our feet, we should know how to play from there. So let's begin with the first one, which is a situation wherein the ball is above the level of our feet. Now, here, what it does is when the ball is above the level of our feet, it has actually come closer to you. So here, instead of taking a normal posture where we are bending from our spine, our knees, we would like to stand a little bit more upright. Also, like I mentioned, that the distance from the ball is close to you, close to your body. We would also now like to choke down on the grip, which is that we would like to hold the club an inch or two shorter, depending on the club and the shot we are playing. This would ensure that now the distance from the ball to your body is accurate. It isn't too close or too far. We would like to make these necessary adjustments while playing such a shot. Before I move forward, I would like to mention that everything that we will be talking about here about dealing with different lies, it it will first begin with understanding and also reading the lie, reading how the ball is lying on the ground. So that is the first and foremost step we need to take. Once we have assessed and read the lie, then we should understand that how is this now going to be affecting the shot that we're about to play. Having that understanding, we would then tweak our technique accordingly and hence hit a good shot. So, here now, coming back to talking about the situation where the ball is above our feet, we have understood, we have established the fact that the ball is above our feet. And now let's understand what it does to this shot. So, when we have such a situation, herein what happens is this ball above the feet, it imparts a draw to the ball, which means that it will make the ball go to the left. Now, how that happens is simply because it changes the lie angle of the club. I mentioned that we need to stand more upright, we need to choke down on the club. So now all this alters the lie angle of the club, hence making the face point more to the left, imparting the right to left curvature on the ball, making the ball go to the left. Now, here, another interesting point I would like to add is that the more lofted a club is, the more the ball is going to go to the left, which means, let's say, if you're hitting a 9 iron and a 6 iron from a similar position. So now we would see that with the shot we hit with the 9 iron goes further left as compared to the one which we hit with a 6 iron. So, having this understanding, we would like to make the necessary adjustments. So, we spoke about the adjustment we'd like to make in the setup, and now we know that the effect it is going to have on the shot. So, now we will make the adjustment in our aim. We would now aim more right of the target. Coming to the technique now, we would just simply like to make a normal swing. What happens a lot of times in most of the undulated lies, be it an uphill, downhill, ball above the feet, is that players tend to be very handsy. They forget to turn, they just become very static and then end up messing up the shot. But what is important to understand is that we have already made the necessary adjustments in our setup before hitting the shot. Now, all we need to do is just trust that and then swing our normal swing. So, here now, in this ball above the feet situation, once we have made these adjustments, once we have aimed to the right, we would just like to swing through normally, turn through, and finish like any other normal shot, and we would get the result. Now, coming to the next one, which is a situation where we would have the ball below our feet level. So now, as opposed to the one with ball above the feet, we see a situation where the distance has actually increased of the ball from the body. So now to compensate for that, we would like to bend more in our posture. We would like to see more flex in the knees, which is simply bending more from the knees and your hips, and also leaning over with the upper body. Now, in this situation, in this ball below the feet, the most challenging bit is our balance. It's only when we lose balance, we mishit the shot. So we need to make sure that we make all the necessary arrangements, which would ensure that we do not lose the balance and we stay very, very stable. So let's start with a wider stance here and bending more from our knees, hips, and upper body. All this we need to keep intact as we swing through. We would not like to, get up while we're swinging or while we're taking the backswing or during the downswing. So this is really important. It will help you keep the balance. Now, again, having made these necessary arrangements in your setup, we would like to see in this swing that here we have, so before the swing, we would like to see that we are holding the club from the top. We do not want to choke down here because it will reduce the length of the club. Now, coming to the swing, like I mentioned before, we would just like to make a very normal swing, ensure that we turn through and finish well with the shot. We do not want to fall back or do any other, leave the swing midway. We really have to commit to the swing and finish it to ensure that we strike it well. So the third one would be an uphill lie. Now, in an uphill lie, when so it really is pretty easy. A lot of players prefer an uphill lie over any other lie. Why? Simply because it is much easier to launch the ball up in the air, given just how the ball is placed there. So now in an uphill lie, we would like to adjust our body to the slope. We do not want to play against the slope. We have to play along the slope, meaning that if the slope is pointing upwards that way, we would like to ensure that our body, our shoulder level is also in line parallel to this slope. Our shoulder level and our hips need to be parallel at all times. If here we are not playing along the slope, it's not parallel, we're against it, again, it would lead to us not being able to do an complete a normal swing and losing balance. So the first adjustment we would like to make here is of our body's positioning. Once we've made that, an uphill lie, there's an important thing to know about is that what it does, it adds loft to the club. So when we are here on this uphill lie, so a 7 iron would practically become an 8 iron. So that's what the slope does to the club. So now to compensate for that, you need to ensure that you take the club according to the distance. You need to take one club extra. Now, having said that, we take the ball position, we address the ball with the ball position in the center of the stance with our spine angle and our shoulders tilted along the slope, and also our weight fairly distributed. We do not, in an uphill lie, it's very easy and very common to fall back once and hang back as we hit down on the shot. Now we need to avoid that. We need to avoid leaning too far back on our trail leg and ensure that we turn through and finish the shot with some good balance. Coming to the next one, which is a downhill lie. Now this one can be a little tricky and one where a lot of players end up mostly hitting behind the shot. Now why that happens is, now imagine when the ball is there in the downhill. As we spoke about the uphill lie, where I just mentioned that it adds loft to the club, something opposite of it happens here on a downhill lie. So now here the club gets delofted, meaning the loft gets subtracted. So your 7 iron would effectively become a 6 iron. Now what that will do is it will make the ball launch lower and make it roll a lot. So we would like to make the adjustment in the club accordingly. Having known that, once we address the ball, we do a similar adjustment here with our body positioning. We would like our shoulders and hips now level with the slope, parallel to the slope. Another good thing you can do here is that something to ensure that you're well balanced as you finish and throughout the shot is that you can flare open your left foot. So just the toes, instead of pointing straight, you can make it point more to the left. So that just ensures that you get a much firmer grip on the ground, and hence you don't lose balance. So now as you do that, we need to understand that when having in the downhill lie, it can also make the ball goes to the right. It can impart a fade to the shot. So now to compensate for that, we would like to aim slightly left of the target. Also, in the uphill lie, it can impart a right to left curvature to the shot. So then we adjust our aim accordingly there as well. A good thing to know here is you must, when I was mentioning about the ball above our feet, and I told you guys that the ball would curve to the left and how a lower lofted club would curve lesser than a higher lofted club. The opposite of that, in a situation where the ball is below the feet, is not as true as it is in the ball above our feet. When the ball is below the feet, the ball will curve to the right, but the effect would not be as much as in the earlier scenario. So keep all these in mind, make these adjustments. Knowing this beforehand would help you prepare well for the shot and address and make the necessary changes to it. Moving on, so here we have covered about the slopes. Now moving on, we could address a case where where you may find the ball in a divot. You know, you may have hit a really beautiful drive center of the fairway, only to come down and see that it ends up being in a divot. As misfortunate as that can be, it can really affect your emotions. And yes, it is a good learning for you too, to ensure that whenever you're playing on the course, you must always replace your divots with some sand and the old grass, so that that does not happen to any other player. But if you do have to find yourself in that case, to play from there, we would like to see that firstly, we want to take a little higher lofted club. Taking from there on, hitting a something like a 5 iron or 4 iron, until unless you haven't practiced enough for it, aren't skilled enough, would only lead to a bad shot. So let's take a higher lofted club. And here, what we are trying to do is we would like to catch the ball first and then take the divot, meaning that there is no chance that we can hit the ground first before the club impacts the ball. Now, for that, the adjustments we would make would be firstly in the stance. We would play the ball slightly back in the stance instead of being it in forward, and also feel the weight slightly favoring our left leg, having our sternum, our center of the body, also slightly ahead of the ball, and also the shaft leaning forward with the handle of the club left of the ball. All this would ensure that we have a downward blow to the ball, a steeper angle of approach to the shot, which would ensure that we catch the ball first and then the ground. And it would give you a good result. And the next situation we have when we have of a mud ball. Now, a lot of we have the monsoons coming up, and playing in the rain, or just otherwise, if you do happen to encounter a ball which has mud on it, can be a little tricky to assess. A good way to know that is just simply read where the mud is positioned on the ball. If you happen to see that it is on the left side of the ball, be rest assured that that will impart a left to right spin to it, and it would make the ball fade in the air. So now here, when assessing it, it's good to understand and remember that whichever side you may find the mud on the ball is going to curve, move in the air to in the opposite direction. That's how the aerodynamics play. And if we know that, we can easily save ourselves some shots. So now when we know that we have mud on the left side of the ball, we would just simply aim more to the left of the target and allow the ball come from left to right and reach the target where we are trying to hit. Similarly, opposite is true when you find the ball on the right side. Now that would impart a right to left spin, and it would make the ball drop. So here, the only adjustment we would like to make is in the aim. The technique remains the same. You just have to make your normal swing and let the aim take care of it so that you are able to hit the target and the direction is not affected. This one is interesting. It is not something which is commonly spoken about, but if you have this knowledge, it just adds to your uh, learning as a player. So it's good to keep that in mind. Moving on, let's talk about a hard pan lie. A lot of we may encounter a lot of situations where the lie is absolutely barren, or also when a lot of times it is extremely tight, the fairways. So now playing from there, let's say we are in a situation where we have a 30-40 yard pitch to the green from a hard pan lie. Now the most common tendency or the most feared shot from there would be a skull shot, where you just simply top it and you find it cross the green. So now to combat that, the adjustments we would like to make would be, first let's understand what really causes the top. So in this given example, which we are talking about, a 30-40 yarder chip. So why do we scull it? Is, let's say we have a sand wedge with a hand. So I have my sand wedge here. I'll show to you guys. So now with this wedge, now the bottom part of it is something called the bounce of the club. So now when the bounce of the club is activated, it hits the ground first and then it makes the ball scull. So all we have to do from the hard pan lie is to eliminate the bounce, let the leading edge, this front edge of the club, make contact with the ball first and then the ground. That would ensure that you get a decent contact and the ball stops on the green. So now to do that, to ensure that we are not using the bounce, what we will do is we would simply start with the ball position, moving it back in the stance. And now we do not want to play it forward in the stance because that is something that would introduce the bounce of the club to the ball. So first thing to cancel that out would be to just simply move the ball position back. From there on, we would like to put our weight leaning forward, favoring the lead leg, also getting the sternum of the body ahead of the ball and our hands slightly ahead of the ball. All these changes would ensure that when we are catching the ball in the downswing, it is on a steeper angle, making us catch the ball first and then the ground with the leading edge. And that would ensure that we have a decent contact with the ball and hit a fairly good shot. Remember, from a hard pan lie, if you happen to encounter that, fear not about the skull shot. Remember these things, and you will be able to get away with very easily. All these lies may only seem intimidating until you do not know how to tackle it. Once you have an understanding of what really is the cause and effect behind it, you can easily tackle it. So moving on, speaking of the hard pan lies, now if we have a situation where this grass is very loose and there's like sand under the shot, it's the loose lie. So now that one, we would like, that is the situation now where we would like the bounce of the club to be activated. So there, otherwise, if you have the leading edge coming in, we would tend to dig in and probably duff the shot. So now how to do that would be play the ball forward in the stance, open the club face, and simply make the normal swing. So we do not need the handle of the club to be too far ahead. Just let's say it be in the line of the ball, our hands and the club, and simply make our natural pitch swing action. We could also understand that when the ground is loose, where there is sand under the ball, we could just play it like a bunker shot. So that would do the trick. Moving on, let's speak about the like I mentioned, playing in the wet conditions. One situation is coming across a mud ball. Another is simply playing from that ground, that wet, soggy ground. Our feet are digging in. Now, to tackle that, the first and foremost, it is important to know that we need to catch the ball first and then the ground, because from there, the most common mistake or the common bad miss is the one where we duff it or we catch a fat shot. So now to ensure that we get a clean contact, we have to make all the necessary arrangements where we catch the ball first and then the ground. So to do that, we will start with, again, moving the ball position slightly back in stance, so that when it is too far forward, it just increases the chances of the club hitting behind. So to combat that, put the ball position back, and choking down on the club is a very good thing you could do to control the contact. It just gives you better control over the club and ensure that you catch the ball first and then you hit it. Here again, we would not like to use too much power. We do not want to be too steep onto the ball, because since the ground is wet, it would simply make the club dig in, and we do not want that. So swing with a nice shallow angle of attack, and catching the ball first would do the job for you. Before we move on, let's check if we have any questions coming in.
If you have any questions, you can just type it in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and ask ma'am.
Yes, please, I'd be happy to answer if you guys have any questions. Okay, or you guys can just simply send in the questions and we could address it at the end of the session.
Yes, ma'am, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Questions too. As of now, there's a question. Ma'am, wouldn't the face club give a jerk if the face club impacts the ground before the ball, right? Before taking, sorry, I'll just complete it. Wouldn't the face club give a jerk if the face club impacts the ground before the ball, right before taking that particular shot?
I am not too sure what this question means, but what you are saying here, that if the club face impacts the ground first, yes, it would give you a jerk, because the club would dig in. You will duff the ball. So in a way, yes, you have answered the question yourself. If that is what you mean, if there's something else, please feel free to reframe it and I'll answer. Okay, so let's move on. Yeah, okay. Let's speak about now a situation wherein we have the ball right next to the fringe of the green. So we've hit the ball, it's just off the green, but it is on the fringe of it, lying between the thick uh, grass of the rough adjoining the green and the apron of the green. So now when the ball is there, so we can't use our putter, neither can we chip from there. All this would just make the club get stuck in that grass, and that accuracy would not be achieved. So a very interesting way to play this shot would be to play it with a different club in your bag, which can seem very absurd to you, but give it a try, and you will see the results with it. Now, the club here I'm mentioning is the hybrid, or the rescue in your bag. So in this situation, this is something, okay, before I move on, is something I highly recommend you all first practicing on the range, before you can actually take it out and pull it off on the green, simply because just to get an idea of the distance control. But you would see how beautifully and how clean the shot comes from that situation where the ball is just stuck next to the fringe of the green. This is something a lot of players on the tour do as well, and like I said, the results with it are really, really good. Much more accurate than what you would get with your putter, or just simply when you're trying to chip it with your wedge. So give this a try. Use a hybrid from the fringe of the green. The technique with it would be, it's very similar to your putting action, the putting stroke. So a narrow stance, weight on the left here, hands forward, and then just simply rock the shoulders back and through like your putting action. Moving on, let's address the lies from the rough. So we all want to avoid hitting in the rough. We all would like to smoke our drives right in the middle of the fairways. But when it is not always possible, we should know how to tackle the rough and the thick grass. So first, it is important now to read that lie. Of course, you cannot, the only way you could do that is by really watching it and seeing it, assessing it up close with your eye. So here, what I want you to really assess is how far down or up is the ball sitting in that thick grass. Is it really buried deep in the grass, where in the thick rough, where it is surrounded by grass all over, you can barely see the top of the ball, or it is sitting up nicely on top of the grass? In a situation where it is sitting up on the grass, it is of course very easy to hit the shot from there. When hitting a long shot, there isn't really much of an adjustment we need to make from there. But when it is buried deep, there is a lot of grass which is there behind the ball, then the kind of adjustments we would like to make would be different. Understanding what that does is, so when we have a lot of when we have the ball surrounded by a lot of grass, and in the rough, what that does is, so when the club makes impact with the ball, it's never a clean contact where the club, where it is the club and the ball, there is always some grass that would come in between. Now what that does is, it would reduce the friction between the ball and the club, hence reduce the spin. Now also what it will do is, so it just causes a lot more resistance. When you take a normal swing in the fairway, you can swing through with your normal speed. But when you come and try and cut across in the thick rough, you will encounter some resistance by it. You will lose some power, some speed, and that would affect in the distance, the carry of the shot. So first thing it does is, it reduces the carry in the ball in the thick rough. Secondly, a reduced carry, and like I mentioned, a reduced spin would make the ball go low and it would roll a lot. So knowing that, we would like to now choose the club and also the kind of shot we are playing. Let's say we have a hazard up in front or a bunker, and we knowing this, we have the ball in the rough. Now we would be realistic here that we might not be able to carry the bunker. So we may either play short of it, or if we do have an option to take a longer club so that we can tackle that. Now moving on. So here, when we have a lot of grass behind the ball, now we cannot come too shallow. When when the club approaches the ball, we have to try our best that we reduce the amount of grass that comes in between the ball and the club. Now to do that, so instead of the club coming down too shallow, which would make, or let's say introduce more grass in between, we need to reduce that. We need to ensure that the angle of approach is a lot more steeper to reduce the amount of grass in between. Now to do that, what we will do is, so firstly, from these situations where the rough is too thick, we would always like to opt out for clubs which are more lofted. From these situations, playing your longer clubs, your 5, 4, 3 iron does not make sense, because it was a lot more unforgiving. So let's first begin with choosing a club which is more lofted. An 8 iron, a 9 iron, or even up to a 7 iron are good choices. Now from there on, we could also choke down on the club. Like I mentioned before, choking down on the club just gives us better control over it. Having done that, now let's talk about the adjustments which would ensure that we come down steep and catch the ball first. So now we would move the ball back in the stance. Playing it too far forward in the stance would introduce a lot of grass. It would make you hit behind the ball, catch it fat, and make you also duff it. So let's move the ball back in stance. Let's get the handle of the club slightly forward, and also let's get the sternum of the body slightly ahead of the ball. So we have to ensure that we are not staying back, but all these adjustments we make to ensure that once it naturally ensures that we have a downward downward blow to the ball on the downswing without us having to really maneuver with it in any which way. So these setup arrangements are very, very important. Also, like I mentioned, from the rough, choosing the right club is imperative. We cannot be greedy here. If we have missed the fairway, we have hit the ball in the rough. Now we need, it's not the time to think about getting the ball close to the green. Now it's the time to play it smart. So we must plan and choose accordingly. Moving on, let's cover now some of the situations we can tackle in the bunker. So the first one being the plugged lie, the fried egg lie. So here, we have the ball which is buried in the sand. It's only half the ball or the top of the ball which is visible. A lot of players, when we see, when we, in any which way, when we miss the green, we see the ball go into the bunker. A lot of players fear that very that very thought of the ball going in the bunker, let alone what lie they may encounter. So having walking up to the bunker and encountering this lie, if you know how to deal with it, you can get away with very easily instead of being scared or being angry about it. So now the first thing that is important to know here when the ball is buried in the sand is that even if I give you the technique to play from it, the result it would have would mostly be that the ball flight would be lower than the normal than the normal shot you would play out of the bunker, and would also, the ball would run a lot on the green. So then we would like to make the adjustment. We need to pick the landing spot accordingly, because here the spin would be reduced, the ball flight would be lower. So when the ball is buried in the sand, the first thing we would like to change would be the ball position. We wouldn't like to move the ball back in stance. Another one would be where we would simply so not shut it, but let's say keep it square, the club face. Normally it is advised that we open the club face so that we activate the bounce, we can cut through the sand. But here in the buried lie, let's keep it very square, very neutral, or also even slightly shut if the pin is at the back. And now the second thing we would do is, in the technique, that when we're taking the backswing, we would just like to see that we set the wrist early on. We do not want a very wide backswing, a wide takeaway, or too long backswing. We would just like to hinge up with the wrist quickly in the backswing and hit down on the shot. Remember, we are still hitting behind the shot. We are still hitting 1-2 inches behind the shot. We do not want to catch the ball first, because then it will get no loft at all otherwise. So these three things, these three changes you could do to ensure that you get out of the bunker easily if the ball is buried in the sand. Next one would be the ball, finding the ball in the bunker, which is right up against the wall. So here on, this is the bunker face, the lip of the bunker, and the ball is just right down there. So now to come out of that, it's super easy. The only thing is that, it just restricts your follow through, but then we could make the changes otherwise to ensure that we can get out of the bunker. So now here, the first thing we would like to do is take the most high, the highest lofted club in your bag. Let's say if it is your 60-degree lob wedge, or whatever, 58, 56-degree, whichever maximum lofted club you have in your bag, you pick that out and we play with it. So even when we have taken let's say a lob wedge, even then we would like to open the face a lot. So open the face to its maximum capacity. That would ensure that it gives that loft to the ball. We have that lip of the bunker wall to carry. So that can only be achieved if we have enough loft in the club face. Otherwise, the ball would simply hit the wall and stay there in the bunker. So let's start with a very lofted club. And now in the setup, I would like to see that we have a nice wide stance, and we're really sitting on the wall. So we're bending the knees a lot and getting our hands really, really low. So when we get the hands really low, one and we swing it, it would ensure that that the right amount of loft is presented to the ball, and that would make the ball pop up from the bunker. uh, and all we could do is just take a nice long backswing and dig in the sand behind the ball. Like I said, it would restrict our follow through, so we do need to rely on the length of the backswing and the speed coming down to ensure that we get the desired distance out from the bunker. All these, they just seem intimidating, but the techniques and the techniques that I am mentioning, if you just follow it, you would see the result for yourself. And it would be like such an aha moment for you that okay, it was that damn easy. So I really would like you all to give it a try. Lastly, let's speak about the lies from the bunker, from a wet bunker or a hard bunker, when the sand is hard. So when we find ourselves in that situation, the first thing here again is the club selection. Now, if you would remember when we were talking about the hard pan lie, I spoke about the bounce in the club, how we do not want to activate the bounce of the club. Here again, when the bunker is wet, it is hard, we would like to ensure that we do not use the bounce of the club. So we need to take a wedge which has a low bounce. And now here we would similarly put the ball back in the stance. And instead of the normal shot, when we play a normal bunker shot, we are advised to hit it 2 inches behind the shot. So here we would not like to hit 2 or 3 inches behind the shot, because that will simply reduce the power. Because since the bunker, the sand is wet, if we hit it that far behind, it would reduce the power, and it would probably, the ball would go nowhere. So here we would like to, catch less sand, hit it slightly closer, yet still behind. I'm not saying that we need to catch the ball clean. We still need to hit, let's say, 1 inch behind in the sand, and just, sort of skim through the shot. So here we would not like to dig in, since it is wet and hard. We would just simply like to skid through the shot with these arrangements. Um, I think I've covered mostly which I wanted to address, all the different lies, the awkward lies. If you guys have any question, please drop in.
Good evening, ma'am. One question. Just
Yes.
you have already covered when the ball is in divot, how to make a long shot. But if divot is near the fringe, near the green, and we have to chip the ball, then what adjustment
Right.
can be made? Yeah.
So, sir, answering your question, the arrangements would be the same. So, like I mentioned there, that we need to catch the ball first and then the ground. So even if the ball is in the divot, we would like to see a cleaner contact, and we need to be very steep in the downswing. How would we do that? By making the changes in our setup. We put the ball position back in the stance. The weight, let's say, when we stand evenly, it is 50-50 distributed between our left and our right feet. So here on, we want the weight to be favoring the lead leg, your left leg if you're a right-handed player. So 70% of the weight on your lead leg, hands forward. The handle of the club should be forward in front of your left thigh, and then just play the normal shot. Then you do not really have to think anything about the swing. We have made all these adjustments in the setup beforehand, so that it would ensure a downward attack on the ball. We don't have to then tamper with the swing in any which way.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
No questions yet, Mama, the chat box. If anybody wants to ask, you can just unmute yourself and ask the question to ma'am.
Okay, then I guess we can wrap up the session today. We have covered the main, the main lies which we all as golfers encounter on the course.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for
Yeah.
joining. Thank you,
All
everybody.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
so much.
everyone, for joining in.
Thank
All
you,
the
ma'am.
best to everyone.